What is the worst thing that's ever happened to you? And I hate to start off the morning so negative, but can you think of something that made you feel utterly hopeless and helpless? Was it a divorce? Was it the diagnosis of a disease? Was it the death of a loved one? Was it betrayal or bankruptcy or job loss or home foreclosure? Or whatever it was, what made you feel that your life was unraveling and you almost couldn't take the next breath? Your whole purpose for the day was just to breathe, breathe, breathe. You just felt your picture of your life, your future, your home, your family, your job, it was just shattered. Have you ever had something like that that's happened that just absolutely blew you out of the water? And your life was not what you thought it was, and it just crashed and crumbled. I believe that's where the disciples were Friday night after the cross. And the cross was not just the worst thing that ever happened to them, the cross was the worst thing that's ever happened. Because the cross was history's obscenity. The cross was Satan at his finest hour. The cross was when hell had triumphed. And you can imagine those disciples going back to that upstairs room Friday night. Everything they had thought of, everything they had hoped for, everything they dreamed of, everything they believed in had just crashed and crumbled, and their lives were in shattered shards at the foot of that cross. But it was Friday, and Sunday was coming. They just didn't know that. And the cross and the resurrection that follows tells us, listen to me, that there is life that follows death. And there is blessing that follows brokenness. Do you hear me? And that after the cross comes the resurrection and the glory and the crown. Don't ever forget what comes after the cross. So even if the worst thing that's ever happened to you lasts your entire lifetime, and you've been diagnosed with a disease, and maybe it's terminal, or maybe you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life after that car accident, or whatever it is, and it's going to last a lifetime, listen to me. Even if it lasts a lifetime, there's still hope for tomorrow. Because this life is not all there is, right? Try to illustrate it. One of my favorite stories, a grown man told this story to my mother. It was a story of when he was a little boy. It's a true story. He said when he was a little boy, he was in London, England. He wanted to hear Dr. Moody preach, D.L. Moody. And he heard that he was preaching in this particular church, and so he went to this church. And he walked up to the door to go inside, and the doorkeeper grabbed him on the shoulder and spun him around and said, "Little boy, where do you think you're going?" And the little boy looked up at him and he said, "I'm going to hear Dr. Moody preach." And the doorkeeper looked at his uncombed hair and his unwashed face and his little raggedy clothes and his unshod feet, and he said, "Not you. You're too dirty to go inside that church." And so the little boy just put his nose up in the air and thought, well, I'll find another way in. So he went all the way around the church, but the windows were too high and the doors were all locked, and he couldn't get inside the church. So he came back and he sat on the front steps, and tears began to come down his cheeks because he was hopeless. He was helpless. He couldn't get inside that church. He couldn't go hear Dr. Moody preach. And just about then, a distinguished looking man came walking up the steps, and he stopped and he saw the little grimy face with the tear streaks, and he said, "What's wrong?" The little boy told him, "They say I'm too dirty to go inside this church, and I wanted to hear Dr. Moody preach." And so the man looked at him, and then he held out his hand. He said, "Then put your hand in mine." So the little boy did, and hand in hand they walked up the steps. They came to the front door that had formerly been shut to the little boy. Now it was flung wide open, and the man and the little boy walked hand in hand down the center aisle, and they came to the front row, and the man put the little boy in the front row. Then the man got up on the platform and stood in the podium and went to preach, because the man was D.L. Moody. The only way that little boy got inside that church was because he was holding the hand of Dr. Moody. You get it? The only way anybody ever gets into heaven, and it doesn't matter if you're Pope Benedict or Billy Graham or somebody who stayed last night to sweep up the arena after we left, it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done, the only way anybody gets into heaven is because they're holding the hand of Jesus. Amen. And Jesus extends his hand to you at the cross, And when you put your hand of faith in his, as so many of you did here last night, and you grasp him with your hand of faith, then listen to me, he walks with you up those steps of life. And when you come to that worst thing that's ever happened to you, he may not deliver you out of it, but he will walk through it with you. Even if it's the valley of the shadow of death, he will be there with you, okay? He walks with you. And then, when it comes for what some people think is the worst thing ever, and it comes to die, and it comes for you to step into eternity, the gates of heaven are flung wide open, and you walk right inside because you're holding the hand of Jesus, and you're as welcome in heaven as he is. You're the Father's child. So there is hope for tomorrow, okay?